The entire set list for Ultimate Masters has been released, which means players are all going crazy about what's in the set, but we have something more important to do. We have to focus on the cards not in the set. Get ready for price spikes so legendary it'll make your head spin. These are the top 10 cards you need to buy right now that weren't in Ultimate Masters. Good luck to you all. Do hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, remember that like button helps out a lot. Beginning as we always do with number 10, Clever Impersonator is a mythic rare from Tarkir here that hasn't been reprinted yet, and while the set is only 4 years old, the Impersonator has become one of the most popular blue cards in the entire Commander format, with the ability to enter the battlefield and copy any non-land permanent that's so gross. Not only is it normally a staple in a ton of blue strategies, but specifically decks like Riku and Rune take advantage of the Impersonator's powerful trigger. Copies of the Impersonator are selling for around $450, and for a mythic rare, from a set that's years old at this point and very popular, that's pretty uncommon. And sure, Khans of Tarkir was opened a lot due to the fetch lands, but no amount of product being open is going to stop the Impersonator from eventually becoming more expensive. No one has noticed yet, and that's a good thing, but this mythic is hugely popular and never reprinted. I'd get it if you need it. Coming in at number 9 is Asceticism. I actually thought this card was more expensive than it is, but nope, it's sitting around $10 right now, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the bargain of the century. Included in literally thousands and thousands of Commander decks throughout the format, Asceticism casts a wide net for creature-based strategies, giving them protection rarely seen among Magic cards these days. Only ever printed once all the way back in Scars of Mirrodin, you can imagine Asceticism is just waiting for scarcity to kick in. Not like Scars was opened a lot. Anyways, for being as popular as it is, and considering it's become a huge player in decks like Omnath, Xenagos, and Mael, I'm surprised it doesn't cost more. It wasn't reprinted in this set or the Enchantment Commander decks, so I wouldn't expect a reprint anytime soon. If you need an Asceticism at a decent price, here's your chance. Number 8 is Devastation. This card is hysterical, powerful, and last printed in Portal, which is the only printing it's ever had unless you count Starter 1999, and let's be honest, I definitely do not. Devastation is not a constructed powerhouse, it isn't a staple in Commander either, but it's a huge pet card for players, and the fact that it's avoided reprinting for nearly 20 years is a miracle. We've spoken about scarcity before. Devastation is just waiting to be bought out. If this card interests you at all, pick up a copy immediately, if not sooner. It is $19 right now, but again, hasn't been printed in 20 years and it's from friggin' Portal, so there's really nowhere to go but up, and let's be honest, Wizards hates reprinting mass land destruction. Don't say I didn't warn you. Number 7 is Dictate of Erebos, and can I just say, this card's price is absurd. It's totally ridiculous. Grave Pact is twice as much as Dictate right now. Twice, that's nuts to me. Dictate was printed in Journey into Nyx and then nothing since then. That's just plain nutty, considering the card's 100% a staple in the Commander format. As a matter of fact, it's the most popular Commander card we've looked at so far. With auto-inclusion in Prosh, Gave, and Marin, Dictate of Erebos is a true powerhouse in the format, and at only $6 each, seriously? And unlike Clever Impersonator, Journey into Nyx was barely opened. If you're a Commander player and you might play black, just, I don't know, ever in your life, get a Dictate of Erebos, get one copy. It's $6, half the cost of Grave Pact, and you get a Commander staple that hasn't been printed in 5 years. Nike, just do it. I hate that we're even talking about them, but number 6 is a cycle of cards, the Tron lands. I think it's clear Wizards knows that they made a mistake printing the Tron lands in paper at all, and while they're happy to reprint them as Magic Online promos, I think we're done seeing Tron for a long time. They've missed every single master set, every single supplementary product. I don't think they're coming back, and if you want them or think you might ever play the deck ever, now pretty much is your chance. At under $4 each right now, the Tron lands are a veritable bargain. Playsets will cost you around $15, but that's more than worth it for one of the most infamous cycles of all time, and a cycle that's played heavily in one of the most popular formats in Magic. Don't wait any longer. This was the best chance Wizards had to reprint the Tron lands. They had new artwork, it was the last master set, but they didn't. Trains left the station, so get them. Morphos is the first card to grace our top 5, and it honestly breaks my heart that this card's even here. I was positive it was coming back in this set, would have made some sick value for sure. The issue here is that even though the card technically has a reprint, that reprint is from original Modern Masters, the set that has absurdly low supply and was printed ages ago. Morphos is way too popular a card to just leave under reprinted like this. One of the key players in Storm, in addition to a ton of fringe Modern decks, Morphos has carved out a place for itself in this environment, and that'll never change. It costs $10 right now, and I think it's a miracle it hasn't spiked yet, especially since, again, everyone expected it in the set. A bit of a speculation, I'll admit, but one that makes sense. It's a Modern staple, needs a reprint, didn't get one, you should buy it. Number 4 is a card I've been thinking about for a while, and the lack of printing in this set's finally pushed me to talk about it. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. I don't know if you know this, but Nykthos is actually one of the most popular cards in the entire Commander format, even more so in creature-based decks, of course. Nykthos fuels Omnath, Locus of Mana, it fuels Azuri, Renegade Leader, Krenko, Mob Boss, you get it, the card does work. Anyways, since being printed in Theros, it hasn't been printed since. We're talking 5 years without a reprint for a Commander land staple. And this graph might not seem too exciting, but we're getting to the point where these two facts will converge. Lack of reprint supply plus huge demand, that always equals bad things. So while the card is in a bit of a slump, I'd grab one now. The foil multiplier should tell you all you need to know. $7. $7! What a bargain, it's kind of unreal. Top 3 time, Worldly Tudor is number 3. This card could arguably be number 1 with its supply issues, hugely famous across Commander as the most efficient creature tutor there is. Worldly Tudor has made a name for itself, and because of that, the card's price is like playing with fire. It was printed all the way back in Mirage in 6th edition. Neither of those sets were particularly overprinted or overopened, and considering it's one of the best tutors in the entire game of Magic the Gathering, I'd say that $14 is a dang flea market sale price. Not really much more to say than that. Isn't on the reserve list. Hasn't been printed in over 20 years. Hugely popular, done. Buy it if you play Commander, it isn't going down, never. Number 2 is Stripmine, and that confuses me just as much as it confuses you. Based on all the land destruction and recursion nonsense we've seen over the past few years, you would think that Stripmine would get a real reprint in a supplemental product by this point, but no. It's an expedition, it's in From the Vault Exile, then literally nothing else since 4th edition. So bizarre. Anyways, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that Stripmine is one of the most beloved and hated cards in the entire game of Magic. Not only is it outrageously popular in Commander, where it sees constant play in the Gitrog monster, Marin, Muldrotha, and Titania, but the card is a cube mainstay and, more importantly, a staple in all vintage decks ever in the history of the world ever. That might not mean much to you, but it matters. Between the eternal playability, the cube value, and the Commander prevalence, Stripmine is due for a price spike even more than the one it just had from Windgrace. Look out for this card, I don't expect its price will stay here for long, unfortunately. Alright, number 1 time, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Number 1 is Black Lotus. It isn't, but man, the reserve list sucks, am I right? Anyways, the real number 1 is Lotus Petal, so it's basically the same thing. Fun fact, Lotus Petal has had one real printing ever, Tempest. Since then, it's been in From the Vault Exiled, and it was an invention in Kaladesh. Besides that, nothing, just nothing. Lotus Petal is strong in Legacy as a player in a number of combo decks from Paradoxical Storm all the way down to some dredge nonsense. It's versatile, powerful, and iconic, not to mention weirdly playable in Commander, Storm, and Artifact decks, stupid Brea. Anyways, Lotus Petal is a high-profile card that's avoided a real reprint for 20 plus years. And while this isn't the flashiest card on this list, it's one that will retain value forever. They aren't going to print Lotus Petal in a normal fashion, they just aren't. When you get a copy, it's like getting a bond, it'll always be worth money, which is why it's number 1 on our list. Lotus Petal has real, eternal, practical value, and the price is really attractive right now, under $6. Ugh, that's hard to beat, enjoy. Don't get me wrong, Ultimate Masters is coming with a lot of relevant reprints, cards that we absolutely need to come back, but it can't possibly hit everything. And these are just some of the most notable cards not included in the set. I'm no expert, just someone using common sense who has been around in this game a long time. You can click the first link in the description to see every card I talked about in the video, and if you want to purchase any of them, TCG Player will be the cheapest place to do that. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.